Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think we will bring our meeting back to order. And to all those of you who have just joined us in the last little while, Council has been in session since 3 p.m. We had several items to deal with in camera, and then we have been dealing with a number of reports that we were able to deal with before our deputations at 5 o'clock. So I do want to welcome all of you here who have just arrived. If you haven't remembered, please, if you have a cell phone with you or other device that might go off and make a noise that would disturb someone at the podium or someone speaking, please put it on vibrate for us if you don't mind. We have at least 2 deputations this evening, and we're happy to start those right now. And the first deputation is with Michelle Huff. And Michelle is with our Norfolk Community Policing Committees, and she is going to speak with us regarding the Norfolk County Project Lifesaver. Michelle, welcome. Thank you for coming, and I will remind you that you do have 10 minutes for your deputation, and I will give you a warning at 1 minute before that deadline, okay? Thank you very much. Yeah. You can turn your mic on there, or someone will give you a hand, just on the side, Councillor, maybe. There we go. It was on for a moment. There we go.
Thank you very much for the invitation to speak today. I come to you as the Administrator of Crescent Care Cortland and the Chairperson of Cortland, Langton, Walsingham, Port Rowan, Long Point Policing Committee. I'm also the Volunteer Program Coordinator for Norfolk County Project Lifesaver. I would like to ask if the county would post Project Lifesaver signs throughout the county to increase awareness and boast our commitment to safety and protect those most vulnerable in our community. This is the sign that I have for the roads, and they would be purchased through the program Project Lifesaver. Project Lifesaver is a community safety program designed to locate wandering missing persons. So each of you has a brochure to view. The client basically wears a bracelet, and if they go missing, their caregiver will call 911 and say that they are a Project Lifesaver client. The OPP has the equipment, the Project Lifesaver equipment, to find that bracelet. They have aerials for their cruisers and directional antennas that they use on foot that establish points where they can follow the strongest signal. It is a radio wave program. It's archaic technology, but it is the most reliable. GPS does not work in heavily dense wooded areas. Heaven forbid if we should have to look to see if there's anyone in an irrigation pond or anything. GPS will also not work in some concrete buildings and underground parking lots and that type of thing, or anywhere where there's a steel roof. So I'm asking the county to actually mount the signs because my volunteers are not able to do this. We do not receive any money from the program, not even for our mileage to see the clients. Each client for Project Lifesaver takes about 3 to 4 hours of our time to set up, and then we have monthly visits to change their batteries. Anyone across the county who is interested in enrolling a loved one in this program can contact me at Crescent Care Long-Term Care Center. In the past 6 years, since we have initiated the program, we have had more than 50 clients enrolled across the county with Alzheimer's, autism, young people with brain injuries from car accidents, people living in their home, apartment, in retirement homes, and in long-term care homes. We are a registered chapter of the international program through which over 3,200 rescues have been made internationally, and we have not faltered to rescue someone safely, not once. We have had 100% success from this program internationally. 3 of those rescues are in Norfolk County. I have a 5-minute video for you which explains the program prepared by the founders of Project Lifesaver International, United States. So you won't see the OPP uniforms. However, in Norfolk County, we do have our OPP officers who are responding to those missing person 911 calls, and they have the equipment. The video begins with a missing person search and rescue, where at the time of the rescue, there is a very, very brief glance at the person they have found showing only their wrist and their bracelet. So just keep in mind that the statistics are a little bit outdated. This video is about 7 years old, but it's very effective.
Thank you.
Lifesaver 1 to all units. Lifesaver 1 to all units. We have a mission. I say again, we have a mission.
I have participated myself in over 140 Project Lifesaver searches. We've never lost anybody. We've always found them within an average of 30 minutes or less. And that has been repeated across the nation 1,350 times as of today.
She shaves his face, she combs his hair, she helps him find his rock.
Rather than having one or two within several thousand that are born with autism, the last statistics that came out was 1 in every 166 births was autistic. Looking at the Alzheimer's statistics, you're talking about, right now you've got around 5 million Alzheimer's patients. Well, they say in 30 years that number is going to triple to 15 million. Why is that? Because the baby boomers are starting to come into that age where Alzheimer's starts to strike.
Cooks his meals, she wipes his mouth, and the window that he's looking out, she reads.
As we're sitting there, you can see the relief in their eyes that they know there's something out there that's going to give them peace of mind, that they're not going to have to every single minute of the day worry that their loved ones are going to wander off and possibly die. Our program is so successful, and the efforts we put when we talk to the clients and to their caregivers, they can see that we care, and they can see that in the history of the program is that we're successful.
Oh, every day is much the same. She sighs that sigh from deep within.
If somebody wanders off, a call will come in by our emergency pagers. Every responder has a pager, and when the page goes off, we call the number that's on our pager and find out who's wandered, what the situation is, how long they've been gone, what they were wearing, and then we'll send out another page to all the responders telling them that it's time, we have a mission, we have to respond.
Each transmitter has its own particular frequency, so we're tracking that person and not someone else. If that person happens to wander off, the caregiver is given a predetermined number to contact us. We will ask them a couple of questions. One of them is, where did you last see them and how long ago? Because that's going to be the focal point or where we start our search, at the point last seen. All of our responders will start responding to that area. They will have tuned in the frequency from that transmitter. They'll move into the area. Once they pick up that signal, they'll start triangulating on it until they move right into where the person is, or the signal gets stronger and stronger. They pick them up and bring them back home. So it's not a real complicated system. Therefore, it works well.
The vehicles allow us to cover the ground to get there a whole lot quicker. Once we get close into the area and the signal is very strong, we feel like we're right near the person, then we can get out of the vehicle, hook up another antenna, and go to ground, is what we call it. Get out of the vehicle and start searching on ground. and slowly go in and find the individual.
If too much time goes by, these receivers only work for about half a mile on the ground. And at that point, if they're deep into the woods or have just wandered off, you don't know where to start, you don't know which direction they went, and you may not pick up that signal on the ground. That's the point that they would call us in. And with the aircraft, we obviously have a several mile range, and we can cover a lot of ground very quickly.
A situation in their family, through no fault of their own, have a loved one that has developed the tendency to wander because of dementia, Alzheimer's, or the like. They need to be protected by this program. This is a program that affords the protection that they need. We know that they do everything that they can in their own security measures, but having this program and having this bracelet that they wear can afford them the additional protection that we can bring their loved one home.
Would you want somebody there to help them if you couldn't be there? And I think Project Lifesaver accomplishes that.
It gives law enforcement a tremendous tool to help protect our elderly and the young that are at risk.
They need to be brought home. They deserve to be brought home, and they deserve that dignity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you very much for volunteering for such a worthwhile project. My question to you, I think I heard you say that your volunteers have to go to attend to the people who are wearing these bracelets every month to change the batteries?
Yes, that's true.
May I ask why that is? Surely batteries last longer than a month.
The batteries for the bracelets normally last about 45 days, but because of the nature of the program and the safety risk that's involved, we do change them every 30 days.
And they have never improved since you started?
There is a 60-day battery program. However, we have found some issues with the 60-day battery equipment.
And how many volunteers do you have supporting your program?
I have approximately 15 volunteers across the different policing committees in Norfolk County, from Waterford, Port Dover, Simcoe, Delhi, and myself along the West End.
And the number of clients you serve?
We've had over 50 clients so far.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Mayor Luke?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michelle, thank you for being here. I'm just curious, how many signs in total do you think you would look at being installed? Do you have an idea roughly?
8.
8?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Black?
Yes. And where will the signs be installed, and why only 8? Is it just for one particular area, or?
We're thinking of just doing it coming into Norfolk County. The areas we're looking at is Highway 3 by Townsend and Cortland, Highway 24 on the north side, Cockshut Road north of Boston, Highway 6 into Port Dover, Highway 59 into Delhi, Regional Road 13 into Cortland, Brantford Road into Delhi, and Highway 3 into Simcoe, close to the detachment.
Okay. Well, that makes sense, because it's entering into the community, and I guess what you really want to do is tell people that Norfolk County has this program. Isn't that what the sign is for?
Yes, to increase awareness.
Can you hold the sign up again? I didn't. Okay, Project Lifesaver Community. And will people know what that means?
People can Google Project Lifesaver International, and they will be able to see the international website. They can call there and ask for information, and they'll be directed to Norfolk County here once they find out this is where they live. As far as the Norfolk County website, I believe the brochure for Project Lifesaver is posted on the website for the county under the policing committees. And Crescent Care Cortland also has the brochure posted. They're one of the sponsors as well for the program, and they have that brochure posted on the website as well.
Okay, and then just one last question. So our OPP officers have all this necessary equipment, and well, I guess that's a question. They have all the necessary equipment.
Yes, they do. The program has been running about 6 years, and originally Staff Sergeant Tout and myself did presentations over a 2-year period to raise $20,000 to buy the equipment for the detachment and the bracelets to start the program, and I've developed a sustainability program to keep the program going and funded.
Okay, and there's no problem keeping the bracelets on the individuals?
It is possible. They say that they're non-cut bands, but it is possible to cut them off. That's how our volunteers change the batteries, but we do recommend with caregivers that scissors just be removed from the home and anywhere accessible.
Okay, well, it sounds like a very good program. Thank you.
Councillor Columbus.
Yes, Michelle, what is the range of the unit when you're looking for a person? What is the range that it will?
It's approximately 1 mile.
1 mile?
Yes.
So if you didn't know where someone was, period, you just started cold.
What happens is when a call comes out from a caregiver to 911, 911 will ask where that person was last seen. The officers will be dispatched with the Project Lifesaver equipment on their vehicles. So I have purchased the aerials, Omni aerials for their cruisers, and they will go out to the call, last point of scene, and listen for that signal. There are officers trained on all the different shifts. And once they can pick up the signal, they will actually start driving in a grid-like form to try to, all the cruisers, there's about 4 cruisers that have the equipment. Once they pick up the signal, then the officers can get out on foot and they can use the directional Yagi antennas to establish the null points and just walk toward the strongest signal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other speakers for the deputation? Seeing none, is someone please prepared to move that we receive this deputation? Councillor Wells has moved that we receive Michelle's deputation as information, first of all. Those in favor of that? No one is opposed. So thank you very much, Michelle, for your presentation. You can take your seat, and there may be some other direction provided by council.
Thank you.
Councillor Black.
So Chairman, it sounds like the request is to have Norfolk County install these, I think she said 8 signs at the basic entrance points to Norfolk County by Norfolk County staff, and I would move that motion. Make that a motion.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Speaking to that motion, and we will need to get those locations again from Michelle before she leaves the chamber if we can. Councillor Columbus to the motion?
Yes, I will support the motion. I think, however, there would have to be some communication with the MTO, being that some of these are going on provincial highway. I see Mr. Van Ackers here. He's take notes.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Councillor. Any of the locations that are provincial highways, not county roads, we don't have any jurisdiction. So the committee would have to go to the MTO to get their permission, I suspect, for those couple of locations, Highway 3 and Highway 24 North and that sort of thing. Any further speakers to Councillor Black's motion? And Madam Deputy Clerk, I'm going to ask you to read what you have before we leave this, if you don't mind, please.
Thank you. Through the chair to committee, and that committee authorizes and provide the installation of 8 Project Lifesaver community signs on Norfolk County road allowances. Okay,
and Councillor Black has moved that. Any further comments about this motion? Ms. Robinson may provide some guidance to us.
Through the chairman to council, I just wanted to be clear. The way the resolution reads is that it would be 8 signs on Norfolk County right-of-ways, which means that there's no instructions to staff to speak with the MTO with respect to putting them on provincial highways. My experience with the Ministry of Transportation is they're not typically desirous of having these signs on that. Perhaps, as long as council concurs, the resolution as it is indicates that it would be on Norfolk County roads.
Correct.
And so we would work with them to determine the best locations being on Norfolk County roads only for those 8 signs. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I don't know if that was necessarily the intent of Councillor Councillor Black's motion, I'm sorry, that it would only be on Norfolk County road allowances.
Well, it would, yes, that is the intent of the motion because that's what we have jurisdiction over. But if, of course, if staff can help facilitate, I guess, the 2 other ones or the other ones that are on provincial highways, then I would hope that they could do that on behalf of the group.
Sure. but I don't think we'd necessarily need that in the motion, that staff would provide what assistance they could in support of the requests on MTO jurisdiction. Okay, any further comments on this motion? Councillor Geisens.
The province in Ontario would do something on our highway to let these signs, you got to tell me that they wouldn't do it? Well, to me, that's pretty, well, I won't say what I want to say. Thank you.
We hope they will, Councillor, but I think Ms. Robinson was correct in pointing out to us they can be less than cooperative sometimes, but this is the right reason for putting such signage up. Any further comments on the motion that Councillor Black has put forward? Seeing none. Those in favor of that motion? No one's opposed to it. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for your deputation. Our next deputation are Mr. Bob Lehmans and Mr. John Whittam regarding the Condo Corporation garbage pickup. Gentlemen, or gentlemen, singular, please come forward.
Thank you very much.
And
I'm John Whittam.
Similarly,
Bob
I will remind you, sir, you do have a maximum of 10 minutes, and I will give you a warning at the 9-minute mark.
I'm going to give a PowerPoint presentation, and thank you for having us today. Bob would love to be here, but he's in Antigua. This presentation comes out of a conversation following the last meeting in November, where we're going home in a car, and Councillor Wells had asked, well, if we're going to let condominiums have waste collection, what's it all going to cost? Which was a very reasonable question. And we realized we knew a lot about our own condominium, but didn't know very much about any of the others. So what we did was go out and visit them. We have visited all three on site to learn how the current collection is handled, how the residents feel about it, and try to gather some facts on the costs from a broader sample than we have of our own. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So our purpose is to give you those results, just give you some facts, and establish the situation as it exists today. Here's a perspective. Norfolk County has some 29,000 total households in the county, according to the census. There are 972 occupied condominium households currently in Norfolk County. They contribute at an average of $2,500 taxes, $2.43 million, and out of that, 5%, which is your waste removal percentage, means we're contributing $121,500 towards waste removal. As we went out there and did the survey, we found no uniformity. It's been talked about how you'd like to treat everybody the same. Well, there is no uniformity existing today, although there are some commonalities. There are 33 condominiums, 12 of them already get picked up by the county. They were the grandfathered condominiums from the previous jurisdictions. Therefore, 21 condos, accounting for 732 households, do not get any county pickup. 8 of those are apartment style, who use bins. 10 of them are townhouse style, who also use bins. And there are 3 mixed subdivision-style condominiums, like mine at Dover Coast, where it's a household pickup level, at the unit level. There are really 3 methods of disposal going on today. Fully 36% of the condominiums, or 12, are getting picked up at the municipal roadside. The residents take both their recycle and the garbage to the municipal road curbside. 55%, 18 condos, use a central bin method, picked up by a private contractor. 8 of those are apartments, and the others are condominium townhouse kind of developments, and 9% are 3 mixed unit condos, and we get end of driveway pickup by a private contractor. I'll put some texture behind that with some examples, and I hope you can see these. If we could get the lights down, it would be helpful. And I've got a laser. I don't know whether it shows. No, it doesn't. Here's one on Nelson Street. This is one of the grandfather condominiums. It's a smaller one. It's only 10 townhouses. It's got a private drive going in, which you can see on the right-hand side of the screen. There's a little blue arrow, which you can see kind of in the middle of the picture. That indicates where the municipal road curbside is, and that's where the residents take their garbage. And as you can see, the condominiums are all very close to that. So they are happy with the current method, although in this instance, a truck could get into that development. The next slide is even more difficult to see. These are 3 condominiums in Port Dover along Richardson Road. There are a series of them, and they are different in configuration. But again, they're all fairly close to the municipal roadside, and they take their garbage to that roadside to be picked up, as well as the recycle. The next one is Somerset. in Port Dover. This is only a 24-unit condominium. However, this is a looped road condominium. You can see the loop there. The road is about 24 feet wide. There is no reason a truck couldn't go in there, but at the moment, they're taking their garbage to the municipal roadside, and it's picked up by the county today. It's a little bit of an odd situation, and there's a limit of 8 bags, but there are 24 condominiums, and what they do is they each individually take their bags to that common area on the right-hand side by the municipal roadside, and then volunteers have to assemble those 24 individual bags into 8 larger bags to meet the limit that you have on the condominium, which they do not appreciate. This is 409 Queen Street in Simcoe. There's a little blue arrow at the top. This condominium uses a bin method. There are 14 townhomes. You can see the main road on the left-hand side of the screen. There's some buildings that are very close to that main road, in fact, put their garbage on the municipal roadside where it's picked up. The rest of them put it in the bin, and the cost to the condominium annually for picking up that bin is $1,500. Victoria Street in Simcoe, 54 units, again a looped road condominium. You can see 2 arrows, you can't really see 2 arrows, but there are 2 arrows, a blue one in the top right and another blue one in the sort of halfway up on the left-hand side. Those are 2 bins, and it's picked up by a front-end loader every week. The cost of the bin pickup to them is $89 a week for 54 units. They are small bins, 2 cubic yard, 200 kilogram limits. If they go over that, there is a small premium to be paid. Recycle is picked up inside the condominium. The truck does go around and pick up the recycle from each individual unit. Here's our own development of Port Dover. We're a large condominium unit with 93 in total. They're all single-family homes or townhomes. There are 80 units now occupied. It's a private road situation. 24-foot width on the road. Waste is picked up at each unit by a private contractor, and recycle is picked up by the county with each unit. Our costs are $80 a week per unit per year. Sorry, $80 per unit per year, 45 of which is the pickup cost, and 35 of which is the disposal cost. Some other findings. Obviously, there are 243 units served by, the cost to the condominiums. There are 243 units serviced by the municipality. Currently, no cost to them. Where there's a central bin method, and it doesn't seem to matter, frankly, whether it's an apartment building or a condominium unit, but it ranges from $45 to $55 a unit per year for pickup. On our own situation at Dover Coast, which is an end of driveway, we pay $45 a unit a year for pickup. Disposal costs vary with volume, but seem to be a similar cost to the pickup costs on a $1 per unit per year basis. I just told you our number is averaging at the moment $35 a unit a year. What are our other findings? When we talk to people in the condominiums, there were really mixed feelings in those condominium townhomes that had a bin pickup method. Some like the centralized bin. There's no need to store waste in your garage. You can dispose of almost anything in the bin that you want to, and it's very convenient for most of the units. You get a sense of that from some of those maps. However, some would prefer a unit-level pickup. The weight and amount of waste is moderate at worst. Most bins are small, like the ones on Victoria Street. And at Dover Coast, we actually did a study during 4 weeks in November where we went around the development on garbage day, unannounced, and we averaging 1.02 garbage per household per week for people in residence. On the 11 weeks that we've moved to a new method where we're being picked up at the bottom of the driveway by Norfolk Disposal, we're using 0.5 metric ton over 65 homes, which is a very similar level of garbage to that's being picked up in Victoria Street using the bin method. We found that most internal roads on the townhouse and single-family homes are serviceable by waste collection trucks. They're either currently traversed by front-end loaders with the bins, or the waste collection at the door level like we are, or the recycle trucks that are already going by them. So there are trucks going into these developments right now. So where does this leave us? So there are 732 units not currently serviced by the county. That is only 2.5% of total households in the county, so it's not a big deal. The one-size-fits-all method, which might be ideal, but it's not the case today, and it's likely not to be practical going forward. Whether it's a bin or a unit-level collection it doesn't seem to matter. It seems to be inexpensive in the range of $45 to $55 a year, whether it's apartments or condominiums. The total collection costs, if you were to take that total collection of 732 units, let's say an average of 50 units a year, the total incremental cost to the county of servicing these condominiums would be $36.6 thousand a year. And that's ignoring any likely significant economies of scale and lower marginal costs if the whole thing were incorporated into a county-wide existing route structure. And indeed, some of the condos may elect to just keep going with their own system right now because they have full control. So, a consideration for council to consider. Where it's practical, two parallel streams of waste collection...
Excuse me, Mr. Whittam, you have 1 minute.
I have one more slide after this one, sir. Would seem to cover off most of the condominiums. A primary stream where you can tie in those condos with the existing route structure and pick up at the unit level. Minimal, I think, marginal additional cost to existing routes. And then a subsidiary stream with the bin pickup method. It's being handled today as sort of 18 different units, but consolidated into one. So why should council vote yes to the condo waste service? Frankly, we think it's discriminatory not to. We pay our taxes, we don't get the service. We think it's a small fix, 2.5% of households, marginal incremental costs will be low. And condos are efficient to service on a marginal cost basis. It's likely less than that $121,000 tax contribution that you saw at the beginning. I've done some numbers that suggest, for example, Dover Coast is 25% cheaper than your average cost across the whole of the county. And it seems to be practical to do so. So I think what Mayor Luke talked about...
Thank you very much, sir.
In the meeting.
Yep, that's great. Thank you very much. We may be able to get some of your final points from questions if there are.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Members of council, any questions for the deputation? You did an excellent job. Thank you very much. Is someone prepared to move that we receive his deputation? Mayor Luke has moved that we receive Mr. Whittam's deputation as information. Those in favor? No one is opposed to that. So again, sir, thank you very much for your comments. Perhaps you might leave a copy of your slides with our clerk's office if you don't. We have it already, I guess.
I should say that every councillor and the staff of, I think Lee Robinson has too, a copy of the presentation, a full deck where every condominium is outlined on a single page. So there is, if you will, a fact sheet on each one, as well as a spreadsheet which itemizes all the condominiums by the type of method of collection.
Thank you very much for that work. So, Council, we do have now a staff report, and this is found on page 48 of your agenda. This is staff report PW 17-09, Waste Management at Condominium Corporations. Ms. Robinson, please.
Through the chairman to council, as directed by council, staff have prepared, for lack of a better phrase, a grocery list of options for which council can pick. You will note that staff have not provided a recommendation. All of the options we have provided in this report are feasible and they are doable. It is a level of service decision for council to make, and as such, staff have not provided a recommendation for which level of service council would like to provide. I'll just go through the options very briefly and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. So option one is the status quo, which would be no change whatsoever from today's option. Option number two is effectively the discontinuation of the current grandfathered collection for the condominium corporations and not providing any new option or any new collection for anybody else. Option three is broken down into a variety of different options, from the internal curbside with individual stops at the end of every driveway for the unit. 3B is the internal at a consolidated point, so everybody would bring garbage bags to it and recycling totes to a specific location within the condominium corporation. Option 3C is a bin. So the condominium corporation would bring their material to a bin and we would collect from that bin. Option D is a combination of options A, B, and C. Option number 4 is collecting out at the municipal right-of-way, so that would not provide service on an individual unit basis, but it would allow the condominium corporation to bring it out. Option 5 is an annual reimbursement to the condominium corporations. And option 6 is a rebate on property taxes, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. I would also like to note that council can opt to do any combination of any of these options or none at all. So it's not, if you pick one option, you can't pick another one to go with it as well, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wells, first, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I was surprised by the variety of prices when I look at here. We go from 55,000, 160, 175 to 120, etc. Why was what would $55,000 get us?
Through the chairman to council, $55,000 would sort of get you part of some of the options. So it's hard to say, it's hard to do a total cost depending on how council chooses to implement that. Because council has the ability to say, okay, on all roads that meet a defined criteria, we'd like to collect that on a unit basis, and that will have a cost associated with it. Whereas if you're in an apartment-style condominium corporation and you have a garbage bin, we would not do that. So it's very difficult without knowing what level of service council would like to implement to come up with what $55,000 could buy us.
For $55,000, if I understand your explanation, we are not servicing every condo development equally. Am I correct on that?
We are not currently servicing every condominium corporation equally, and $55,000 would not provide sufficient funding to level the playing field and service everybody equally on a going forward basis.
There goes my money again. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Columbus, followed by Mayor Luke.
With respect to option 4, collection at the municipal street, several of those that's happening now. So the number for that you've got is $120,000 estimate to pick it up at the municipal street, according to option 4. Would that include the ones that are grandfathered, or is that what you're looking at?
Through the chairman, this would be the additional cost. The ones that are grandfathered are already accounted for, so this would be the additional cost to collect it at the municipal curbside.
So just the additional ones would cost that much, eh?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And for full disclosure, there are several condominium corporations in Norfolk County that would not have sufficient room on the municipal curbside to store their garbage and would not be able to avail themselves of that option.
Is that it, Councillor, for now? Okay, Mayor Luke?
Just one question. Through you to Lee. Lee, I certainly went through this report. Very well done. I really appreciate you giving us these options and certainly saying, fill in the blank in the recommendation what you want to do. Everything from picking one or several or not picking any, status quo. I do want to ask you, through the chair, the question on bins. I know that there are some areas that have bins. They are very convenient, and you can put a lot more different things in a bin that I can't put on the side of the road to be picked up every week. They won't pick them up. So there is a big advantage, in my opinion, to have a bin, and obviously they have to be paid for. But my question is, should we be going into condominiums and doing bin pickup over and above what we normally do at pretty well everyone else's driveway or area pickup, and that is 4 bags per household? Should we be going in and doing bins on top of that?
Through the chairman to council, again, it's a level of service discussion for council to have, not for staff to have a technical opinion on. I can say that should we do that, then we will have inequities again.
Yes.
In the municipality, because things like apartment buildings that currently pay for we do not collect the bins. And they are also residents, and the property owner would be paying property taxes as well. We would now have another inequity in the sense that we are not currently collecting bins, and it's not part of our current service with our current level, with our current vehicles.
Thank you. That's all for now. Mr. Chair, I have an opinion on what's the difference between an apartment, a bin at an apartment, and a bin at a condo, but I'll talk about that later should I need to. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Geisens next, please.
Mr. Chair, through to you to Lee. I'm looking at option 3A, and I was what Councillor Wells just talked about, the 55,000, and you talk about individual stops on private lands, which I would assume are the condominiums, and that's for 55,000. I go to option 4, collection at Municipal Street, and that is $120,000. How is that so different from one to the other?
Through the chairman to council, the difference with the at the municipal curbside is there are more condominium corporations in Norfolk County that are able to take advantage of the municipal curbside collection than there would be with condominium corporations that have sufficient road width to allow us to collect it on private land.
But don't we have some of those now that we're actually bringing their garbage to a county road and are picked up that way? Or is that then included in this $120,000?
Through the chairman to council, what we currently have condominiums that each unit has an individual driveway that fronts onto a municipal street. So we collect it. If you drive by, you wouldn't necessarily recognize that it was a condominium corporation. It just pretty much looks like a block of townhouses. Because those units front onto the municipal street, they bring their garbage out to the municipal and recycling out to the municipal street, and we collect it there. The option 4 would be a condominium corporation that's on a private road, and everybody would bring out their bags to the municipal curbside. And so you would effectively have a large pile of garbage and a large area full of recycling bins. So that's the difference between the two of them. Right now, there are a few and very few number of units that we actually collected on the municipal curbside because they already front on a municipal road.
So is this getting back to what we talked about a little while back as to that they will now be picking up both recyclables and garbage? Is that why the extra cost is involved? Because now you're going to have to pick both up. I mean, did I misunderstand you that recycling is also coming to the curb and that causes the part of the...
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question. Can you try again?
Oh, I thought maybe I misunderstood what you said. Basically, I thought that right now recycles are picked up in all condominiums. Am I correct?
We do not have municipal collection of recyclables in condominium corporations.
Okay, so none of those are brought to the street level. Is that basically? Then I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
There are a few condominiums where there's 4 or 5 units that actually front the municipal road, and they may put out their material, but generally speaking, if there's approximately 1,000 condominium corporations, that affects maybe 10 units.
Well, I guess what I can't get my head around is the one is 155,000, and we're going door to door in the condominium. They bring it to the roadside, and all of a sudden, it's $65,000 more than what the other one is. I don't understand that, I guess. So somebody has to explain that one to me. Thank you.
Sure. Through the chairman to council, the difference is that the ones that we would collect at the end of their driveways, there's less number of units that would be able to take advantage of that, and there's a higher number of units that can take advantage. So there'd be more material generated from a condominium corporation if they brought their waste to the municipal curbside. So for example, if there's, say, 300 condominium units in Norfolk, and this is just a number I made up just for the sake of this discussion. If there's 300 condominium units that front on a private road where we would be able to use our existing collection vehicles and collect that material, there would be, say, 600 condominium corporations that would be eligible to bring their garbage to the municipal road. So we'd be collecting twice as much material on the municipal curb as we would be if we only went into a private road.
Well, I still don't understand this. If you have a bag limit of 3 bags or whatever houses or however condominiums are in this whatever you want to call it, why, if there's, let's say, I want to make it simple, let's say there's 10. So everybody's allowed three bags. So we're talking what, 30 bags. So whether you pick them up at every door or you pick them up at the road, you haven't got any more. So if there's 100 and everybody brings 300 bags, you shouldn't be picking up any more. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Oh, okay. So through the chairman, I apologize, I'm not explaining myself very well. There are more condominium households eligible to take advantage of option 4 than there are condominiums households that are available to take to avail themselves of option 3A. So there would be 500, or sorry, let's say in your case you had said that there was 10 units. In option 3A, there would only be, say, 4 units that were available, that were actually able to allow that. So then there's 3 units with 3 bags each, as opposed to 10 units that could bring it out to the municipal curb. So the difference would be an additional 21 bags if it was being collected at the municipal curbside. There's more units, there's more condominium households that could avail themselves of option 4 than option 3A, given the nature of how their roads are constructed.
Councillor Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Lee, what you're telling us is that one method will not fit all. I was all ready to come here and speak in favor of option 4. That makes everybody just like me. I got to carry my garbage from my house out to the roadside. Everybody should be able to do that. Now, our engineer says there's not enough room at the roadside to put some garbage bags? Really? How much room do you need?
Through the chairman to council, there is a condominium development that just off the top of my head, there's one here in Simcoe. Their width of their entrance into their property is probably 4 feet wide. This is over by the golf course over here in Simcoe. And the width of their actual driveway, that property that they own, is probably about 3 or 4 feet wider than the asphalt entrance. And there is, give or take, 20, 25 condo units in there. There is no way that if they each generated 2 bags of garbage that they could put 50 bags of garbage on the municipal curbside adjacent to their property without being in front of somebody else's land. We did look at it, and I think council knows me well enough to know I'm full disclosure, and there is not a solution here with the exception of basically telling staff to implement everything. Bin collection, private road collection, municipal curbside collection. That's the only alternative, would be to pretty much implement all of the options if we wanted to collect garbage and recycling from all of the condominium corporations in Norfolk County.
Further, Mr. Chair?
Please, go ahead.
Well, I had hoped to have a solution where one method would suit everybody, but that's obviously not going to happen. So I think the only solution is going to be that staff is going to have to go out and inspect every condo complex and see what suits them best. I don't know what else we can do. Thank you.
Councillor Wells and then Mayor Luke.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just on that same idea that Councillor Sonnenberg has, where we treat everybody equally, could I ask staff, with regard to the rebate on property tax, if we rebate it, would everybody get the same rebate if on their property tax? Would that be a fair way to treat every condo owner? Yeah. It's just a question, Mr. Chair. We're just talking about fairness.
Yeah, through the chairman to council, difficult question to answer, and the argument it would be that different condominium, if we rebated every condominium corporation the exact same amount of money, basically on a per household basis, the same way we currently pay for that, each condominium corporation would then have to make their own arrangements for their solid waste collection. And it would then probably go inequitable again, because depending on your type of condominium corporation and your private contractor, who was going to pay more to have it collected. But that would be up to the at that point, it would be up to the condominium corporation to determine how they wish to have their garbage and recycling collected. So it sort of puts them all back at a 0 point, but it's going to get inequitable again just by the very nature of the competitive marketplace for this type of thing.
I have a feeling that it's very hard to have a one-size-fits-all. But thank you for trying.
Through council, or through the chairman to council, if council is desirous of trying to eventually get to a one-size-fits-all, that's something that is part of development applications for condominium corporations. If council wishes a policy to be created that says that you have to do it this way and this is how your garbage is being collected, it is something that eventually we could work towards. That being said, it will be probably my children's grandchildren by the time all of the older condominium corporations had finally phased out of the system.
Mayor Luke and then Councillor Columbus for a second time.
Well, Mr. Chair, I am willing to put forth a recommendation. However, I saw a couple other hands, and I don't care whether you put it on the floor now or you wish to have any more questions of staff, and then I would be delighted to get the debate going. So it's
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask that we have the remaining speakers get a chance to say their thing, and then we'll. Okay, thank you, Councillor Columbus.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Lee, the roads, the internal roads in the condominium development, how many in Norfolk are built to municipal standards? Do you have an issue with that? That's in accordance with 3A there.
Yep. Through the chairman to council, there certainly are ones that are built to municipal standards, and there are certainly ones that are not built to municipal standards.
So how many are built?
I don't have an exact number, but we figured out that it was we figured out that approximately 50% are not necessarily built to municipal standards, but could withstand a collection vehicle that we're currently using. So they may not be built to municipal standards, but approximately 50% of them would be eligible to be able to allow us to have a municipal vehicle on their property.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor, for that question, because that's an important one. I think to get a sense of how many of the private roads could accommodate our vehicle, and because we know the deputation told us there are recycling trucks going up and down the private streets of some of the condo corps now, for example. I don't have any further speakers, unless I missed someone. Mayor Luke, back to you.
Well, we'll get the debate going here, Mr. Chair. The recommendation on page 48 certainly receives information. I'm going to suggest that the service level options B, 3A, 3B, and option 4 be approved for implementation. And I would like to add to that, subject to applications made by the condo corporations and approval by Norfolk County staff. And if I can speak to that, I would be delighted to.
Go right ahead, Mayor.
First of all, we want a real fight on our hands. Let's suggest option 2, that we take away what we've been doing for many of our condos for many years. You think you want to fight? Suggest that one. In other words, treat everybody equal. We're not picking up any. In 1976, I lived on Richardson Drive in Port Dover, my wife and I and 2 kids at that time. And I remember my job was to carry the garbage, and I lived on the end unit at the ravine, and my job every week was to carry garbage out to the curb on Richardson. Now, that was 1976. 39 years later, I still see that being done. And some of the women are doing it. So This is not a new concept in Norfolk County. 36% of our condos to date are getting garbage pickup. Most, if not all, are getting recycle trucks onto the condo property, contracted by Norfolk County, like our garbage. This is not a new concept. I don't favor bins. Maybe council will support bins. I do not on condo. I live in a neighborhood on Hillcrest where there's 6 homes in a cul-de-sac and 6 homes in a row. We would love the county to not pick up our bags and provide us every week with a bin. We've even got a turnaround where they could put it. Because we can throw everything we want, cement blocks in a bin, anything we like, 6-foot pieces of 2x4, refuse from a lawn. So we're going to talk about treating everybody fairly here, I think. I think that, 3A, you apply, staff comes, contractor, we can pick it up right at the end of your driveway on private property. We do it with recycle. 3B, a central location place on private property. There's another option. And number 4, if that can't be done, and we saw from our deputation that that's the exception, not the normal. But Lee Robinson is quite right. Go up the end of the Norfolk Golf and Country where they would have to bring their garbage down. And on Argyle, there just is not at that intersection of Wilson Ave. There is not, there's just not room for those bags. There's not. And what little room there is, it slopes down to the road and the traffic moves. So that's something that has to be looked at. So, Mr. Chair, I would say that it's time for Norfolk County to get into picking up garbage in condominium corporations. The people in Somerset and Port Dover pay taxes, and the same portion of their taxes goes to garbage pickup like they do on Richardson Drive and have for years. I want to finish by going back to what I found out what other municipalities are doing. The county of Brant, our neighbor to the north, started condo pickups in 2012. They've been doing it now for 4 years. The only thing with Brant is they refuse to go on to private property. It is picked up on municipal, wherever that road is, how far away it is. They do not go on to private property. Oxford started in June of 2013. I mean, for decades they did not pick them up in condos. Now they've changed over. They recognize the importance of providing a service that we can, and in many cases we already are with 36% of our condos. It's only fair, it's only right. In Oxford, the county has determined that private roadways are to be used by waste collection vehicles that are physically satisfactory, and the owners of the occupants of the private property have executed the required indemnity agreement. That's their 2 conditions, which I have done. And there's the indemnity agreement there. One person in the condo board is designated as the garbage person contact. They are the ones that fill out the applications, get Lee Rabbits, get your contractor there and say, this is the best way we can do it for your condo. That started in June the 30th, 2013. I really like Haldeman the best. Don't tell those folks I said that. Haldeman, I think, is